Hello. Okay, we are rolling. Let me see. We don't have to, I don't think we have to talk about a question because you just wanted a general reading. So, the spread I'm doing here for you is called the Zodiac Spread. And I don't have enough space to do it in a circle, like the way the houses are arranged, but basically it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it kind of is like more like a U than a circle. And usually I draw the cards live, but because there were so many cards to draw, to save time, I did it to save the frustration of watching me do it. I did it ahead of time so that you wouldn't have to sit through that. But here are all the cards. The deck that you chose in the teal bag was the this is called the Waite Smith Tarot Borderless Edition, which I love. This is one of my favorite decks. And you also chose animals, so we are using the Secret Language of Animals Oracle cards by Chip Richards, and these are actually by my favorite Oracle card artist, Jimmy Manton, and he's Australian. And I chose one of the animal cards for you with that 9-digit number that you gave me, using some numerology, and I also chose an extra card for the end, tarot card using that same number in a different way, and that'll be our guide at the end, either a guide or a way to sum up the reading for you. So let's look at the animal card first, because I usually think that this sets a tone for the reading. So you got shark. This is about perception, focus, fear, and action. So sharks are all about perception, focus, fear, and action. So that seems to be, that could be a theme in your life right now, or it could be a theme for this reading. Let's see how it plays out. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with the first house, and I'm going to circle around and go to the 12th. And we'll just kind of see how the various houses, as they represent areas of your life, how the energy is looking right now. So the first house, let me get it, sticks, okay. So this is your personality, you, the self, as displayed externally. So as you're displaying to the world right now. So I would say that you're looking a little stingy to people right now. So it could be stingy on a money front. I mean, the basic definition, this is like the 4 of Pentacles here, and you can see how he's like grasping pentacles. He's got his feet on 2 of them. He's being so stingy, in fact, like he's hoarding his money and resources, and he's actually ended up being alone. He's like isolated himself. There's a skyline of a city behind him, and he's out here all by himself. So important is it to him to conserve resources. So this could be you right now. This is not necessarily a bad thing. Every card has like a light side and a dark side, right? So I would say that this could be you literally being stingy with money, or being in a saving period, like, you know, telling people it's like, I don't want to go to the movies. I don't want to go out to a fancy restaurant right now because I have some bills to pay, right? This could be you also being maybe protective, like, and you know, there's a protective aspect to that. This could be you being protective of your time. It could be like, I cannot take your kids to soccer this week because I have to do something for myself, or I can't take care of mom, or something like that. This could be maybe stinginess, self-care in terms of time, but there definitely seems to be like some sort of retreat, a regrouping. Stingy is kind of a judgy word, I guess. Conservative maybe would be a less judgy word. It seems like you're in a conservative phase where you are conserving energy or resources somehow, and that's how you're appearing to people right now on some level. So let's take a look at the second house. The second house is this is about material security, possessions, things like that, like money, income. This is kind of like actually the way I usually talk about pentacles in tarot. So you've got the Nightmare card. This is the 9 of Swords. Swords are all about the mind, mental things, intellect, and thought. And then usually when thought becomes excess, in my personal definitions, excess thought often becomes depression and anxiety. And I think this card definitely represents anxiety. I really like this card, actually. So you'll see that there's a woman sitting up in bed. I haven't seen this card in a while, actually. So there's a woman sitting up in bed. Her face is in her hands. And lovely, since we did this spread, her quilt is actually covered in all of the signs of the zodiac. And basically, like, if you notice on the side of her bed, like there's like a fencing match going on. So like, again, swords and like conflict, like mental stuff going on. And so she's like sitting up in bed, and she clearly, the scene is that she's just had a nightmare, right? So I would say that you basically have a lot of worry. Maybe you're waking up in the middle of the night because you're worried somehow about your material security, either money, source of income, maybe work, so like what else? Yeah, I mean, just basically your livelihood. So the reason why I said I like this card, though, is because if this was actually you, if you had just woken up from a nightmare, nightmares are not real. So the light side of this card to me is the fact that, okay, you might be feeling like you're living in a nightmare right now, but the nightmare aspect, there's often ways you can see that you're creating the nightmare yourself. Like the worry, if something's really outside of your control, you don't have to worry about it, right? Because you can't control it. And if something's in your control, you don't have to worry about it because it's in your control. It's like, I think like Wayne Dyer said that or something, right? And I love that quote. I think a lot of the spiritual guru types say that. So the nightmare that you're waking up from here in the scene, it's not real. It's probably something within your control. And if it's not in your control, you don't have to worry about it. But that's one of the reasons why I really like this card. I think it's really, even though you might feel this way right now on the level of your material security, there's definitely a way to shift your perspective in order to make it to come out of the nightmare phase. But hopefully that's not overwhelming to you right now. Now, the third house, this is Gemini. This is the communication with others. So interesting. So communication with others, I haven't done this spread in ages, and I'm starting to see that they're telling a story, so this is kind of interesting. So we have the stinginess over here, and the pentacles are all about like money. They're about basically this whole house. They're about like your being grounded, livelihood, Maslow's needs, meaning food, clothing, shelter, the basics, like working for the basics, stuff like that. Excuse me. So now on the element of communication, this is like you're being divinely offered the essence of the suit of pentacles, right? This is the ace. There's a hand coming out of a cloud holding a pentacle. It's clearly a divine offering. This sort of like this I didn't want to use the word divine. Okay, divine hand. There's a garden here in the background with lots of lilies, so some innocence. There's roses, passion, and there's like you're within this garden, and there's a clear path onto the next thing. So this divine offering is usually something that is short-lived. Like it's an opportunity. The opportunity aspect of this, there's something on the material plane here, in terms of like maybe new job, maybe something to do with all of that stuff, like satisfying your basic needs in life. There's some sort of opportunity coming up. And since this is in the house of communication, I would say that you need to start communicating with people about whatever is going on here, right? Whatever we just talked about going on here, looks like if you communicate about this, there might be some sort of offer that comes your way, or someone might know how to help you get out of the nightmare and shift that perspective, as long as you communicate with the right people about it. So this is definitely, and the third house is about like the mind and thinking too. So it's kind of like swords here. So mind and thinking, communication, so that it's the energy of swords, or Gemini, since this is the astrology spread. But And there's one other, what was the other word? Oh, neighbors. Sometimes this has to do with neighbors. So communication meaning like the people around you in your immediate surroundings, not necessarily literally neighbors. But yeah, like neighbors, for instance, like, copy from your neighbor, like in class notes or something when you're in school. So think about who you need to communicate with about your material security, right? Because it looking like it's telling a story here. Now let's look at the fourth house. So this is Cancer. I don't think I said the okay. So it starts Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and then now we're at Cancer. I think I skipped the astrological sign for these two houses. House number 1, 2, 3. So house 4. This is Cancer. This is home and family life. And they're all sticking to the rubber mat today. So family life. So you've got the Lovers reverse. So this is your first reversal. I like to turn them up. So, oh, sorry, this is not the Lovers. This is the Two of Cups, upside down. I was looking at it wrong. So this is the Two of Cups. So this is on an emotional level. This is about like coming to an emotional balance on a basic level. And I would say it could, well, it's not knowing you, and since this is general, in terms of home and family life, this can also be about self-care, foundations, so things to do with the home, family, what else? Sometimes people like throw in children. So if you have children, it would be, well, they're really a part of the home. So that's just another facet of the home. So I would say that the theme here for the fourth house is going to be about like balance and stability around emotions. This is also the Lovers card. So it could be one of the Lovers cards, right? This is it's kind of like a marriage card or a relationship, because if you look at the two figures, they're basically, there's a union here. Now, this is also reversed though. So I read reversals as things that are delayed, things that are blocked, things that are hard, so difficult. So I would say that there's some definite difficulty in getting emotional balance right now on the home front. That's the way I would read it. If there's some sort of relationship thing going on for you in the home specifically, you could read this as the fact that there's some sort of blockage around the emotional balance of your relationship, of the union between, these two figures in the thing, in the picture here. But if this is just general home, I would say emotional balance is blocked right now for you on the home front. Now, coming to the fifth house, we have Leo, which is more about your love life and your creativity, romance. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, so this is really telling an incredible story, because this resonates with what we just saw over here, the emotional balance on the home front. Now that we're getting to romance, which may or may not be playing out in your home, depending on what your relationship status is. On the romance front, something's missing. So the eight of cups, if you look at how the cups are arranged, you've got 5 on the bottom, 3 on the top, and then they're arranged to clearly delineate that there's like of the structure that's being built here, there's one that's missing. And if you look at the scene, there's the person in the scene is actually is leaving, right? He's moving on, he's traveling, and what he's traveling is to find what's missing on an emotional level. There's an eclipse here too. So when the sun eclipses the moon, or sorry, it goes the other way. When the moon eclipses the sun, there's definitely some of the light on the subject is being blocked. So the moon's kind of occluding all of that sun energy here. So there's like another blockage in terms of like the life-giving warmth of the sun right now in this situation. But the moon represents hidden knowledge, so and feminine energy, and that sort of feminine intuition. So even though like the light of day is blocked right now, you still have a source of strength, inner wisdom, intuition, and stuff that you can draw upon for this journey to fill the emotional hole here on the romantic front, on the love life front. If there's no love life issues right now, I guess the other way you could read the fifth house would just be like creativity, creative pursuits, and that sort of thing. if this isn't resonating on the love front. Creativity would be another way to read this sort of emotional lack here. Moving on to the 6th house, we have Virgo. This is like it can be your day-to-day work life, but it can also be it can also be like bodily health, like health, fitness, things like that. So either kind of work or body and fitness, because body and fitness enable you to work. And this is actually a really favorable card, and this is really continuing the story here. I love this, actually. So the fact that these two together, these actually, in the story of the tarot, you've got the 8 and then the 9 of Cups, and these sort of seed to each other. So basically, the man that you see here who's lost something on an emotional level, on the 9 of Cups, he has found it. So it sounds like, since this house is about maybe work or your body and health and fitness, one of those two areas, it seems like this is where you can find that emotional satisfaction, that element that's missing. It seems like this is the area of your life where you're actually able to derive some emotional satisfaction, fulfillment right now in this area. If you're not already feeling it, this would be the advice to try to focus on this right now. So you may already be feeling this. If you're not, and you have all of this like stuff going on over here, this might be telling you to pour yourself into your work. Or if you do like gymnasium type activities, maybe it's like this is pour yourself into that, because this will basically enable you to have that fulfillment that may be lacking. Otherwise, if you already have it here, this is just pointing out that you continue on that path if you're already doing that sort of thing. Now we're coming up on the 7th house, so we're going to loop back around this way since I couldn't make the actual circle for the camera. This is 7, Libra, and this is about relationships. So, okay, so this is, you know what, actually, and this whole swath is about emotions right now. So you've got the 7 of Cups. So you've got the 2, 8, 9, 7. So this one was reversed, but we'll look at it right side up for the moment. So this is one of the few cards where you actually have 2 of the cards where the person's back is to the viewer. There aren't many cards where the back is to the viewer. So I don't remember the last time I've had a reading with 2 backs to the viewer. So I'm not even thinking of, like, I haven't really thought before about what that might represent, like as a theme to the reading. But so the basic meaning, there's a couple basic meanings to this card. I often, in a positive light, I would call this the spoiled for choice card. Like, there's so many choices that you're overwhelmed. You're like, the figure's kind of taken aback by how many things are kind of offered in front of him, right? This could also be on the darker side, you know, that on an emotional level, there's just too many choices, and it's overwhelming on an emotional level, having to make a choice or make a decision, using your gut, using your intuition, any of the sort of water element related human aspects. So in terms of relationships, this could be about marriage. This could be a relationship in terms of like business partnership. So it's not necessarily like romantic relationships, but I would say definitely there's some area of your relationship where there's like some choices to be had, either choices between the parties involved or some choices about how to make a relationship happen, like a contract, something like that. And it's going to be difficult, right? So the cards that are reversed to me are blocked on a level that's causing a delay. So say maybe some sort of expectation you have or some sort of resolution you're waiting is going to be delayed, or it's just going to be hard. Things that are hard take a long time anyway, usually, otherwise it wouldn't be hard. So they're kind of two sides of the same coin. Now, let's see, Scorpio is about major life changes. It's about, this is the 8th house. It can be about, like, I don't know, well, any big area where there's like changes. So interesting. So this is the 3 of Pentacles, and it's reversed. So the 3 of Pentacles I'm just like, sorry, I'm just kind of tallying up like the suits here. So you've gotten 3 cards that are pentacles, 4 that are cups, and 1 sword. Okay, so so pentacles are about being grounded, or about like your home life, about livelihood in terms of earning money, earning your keep, and providing the basic needs for your life. So in terms of Scorpio and major changes, it looks like that and this was also blocked. I don't want to forget this. I was trying to remember if it would, how it came up. So this one was originally reversed, and I turned it up to look at it. So the basic card is like there's an appreciation of your work. So one, two, three, like Rachel Pollack, one of the major forces of tarot, like often we'll look at the minor arcana as like 3 sort of loops, like of completion. So like 1 through 3, 4 through 6, and 7 through 9. Like each of these 3 steps being in sort of like mini stories of your life, mini cycles in your life as like, you know, as life progresses. So this is the conclusion of the most minor, the 1 through 3, a minor cycle of your life in terms of like of work, livelihood, and whatnot. So I would think that maybe there's some maybe appreciation in terms of how your work life is going that might be blocked right now. I feel like one of the things is like accomplishment is a part of this card, and so maybe that accomplishment, since there's a blockage here, the accomplishment aspect is not being recognized. So since this is in the house of change, I'm wondering if there is some sort of aspect of your livelihood that needs to change. Thinking back to personality, like there's this sort of reservedness, this conservatism over here in terms of something, either money, being generous with your time, resources, whatnot. Is this because there are some job problems right now because of the nightmare over here about your material security? And so maybe an aspect is that your talents or accomplishments are not being appreciated somehow, and this is causing you to think that you need to make a major life change in this area of your life. I don't know. You'll have to reflect on that and figure out how that relates, this major change in terms of the 8th house. Try to think of, yeah. I'll leave it there. So let's see. Now we're headed towards 9. This is Sagittarius. So this is like higher learning, your deeper beliefs. It could be religion, if religion's important in your life. Oh, well, this is a very favorable card. This is your first major arcana card that came up in this reading. So the Magician is all about manifesting. He has all 4 elements present in front of him on the table. He's got the roses of passion, the white flowers of innocence, and he's got the lemniscate over his head, the lemniscate, the infinity symbol. And so in terms of your 9th house and higher beliefs, it looks like you might be in a phase where you are I would say that you're either working on creating like a new belief system for yourself, or on a spiritual level, you're trying to like figure out your path right now, and you're trying to make something happen on that level. Otherwise, this could be the fact that you have been working on that for a while, and you're employing your higher self to make things manifest in your life. But since like things seem to be kind of going wrong, this might be more, rather than telling us where you already are, this might be telling you where to focus. Like, where can you use wisdom? Education is another aspect of this. I don't know if part of this, maybe if there's instability around how you're making your livelihood, if you're thinking of going back to school. The higher learning aspects, the education aspect of the 9th house could be at play here, and that maybe you're thinking of doing some sort of program to improve your marketability on the job and career front. If not, I would say that this could just be that, there's like a spiritual aspect, a philosophical aspect, or some sort of high area of high ideas of your life where you're going to be using some of those ideas to make things manifest in your life. Now, let's see, where am I? I'm at 10 Capricorn. So this is like about your reputation. reputation, public image, stuff like that. So, like, it also kind of it's with career. It can have to do with career as well, the structure and status of your life, your long-term goals. So the Hanged Man, I'm going to turn him right side up. So he's blocked. So this is interesting, resonating with this card over here. So the Hanged Man, he's basically chosen to hang himself from in this position. And it's kind of like a sacrifice, like the way someone like religious might fast as a form of sacrifice, as a form of devotion, something like that. So he is basically, in order to evolve to the next spiritual part of his life, he's basically, I can't think of the word. Like, there's like a word that kind of like, anyway, it's not on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, he's basically making a sacrifice in order to evolve spiritually. Another more basic aspect of this card is it's also telling you that, you know, this is about shifting your perspective. Let me think. Yeah, in the Tower, he's the only guy who's upside down. So it's very much about shifting your perspective in order to evolve to the next step. And it's going to be hard because this came up reversed. And so in the house of Capricorn, in terms of your reputation and status, I would say that either people are starting to see you in a different light, or this is basically telling you that you need to get people to see you in a different light, right? To shift their perspective, since it's about reputation. That's how you are perceived from the outside. Maybe you need to shift them away from seeing you this way that we talked about over here in the first house, the sort of the conservative, I don't want to say miser, but, you know, the stinginess, the miserliness, which might just be conservatism. How is it that you can get people to shift their perspective and see you in a different way? And it ain't going to be easy because it is blocked and reversed. So now on to Aquarius. So Aquarius, this is the 11th house. This is about your social life and friendships. It's about groups. Okay. So what I would say is I think this is probably more advice unless you're already doing this. So this is the Knight of Wands. So the wands are, is this the first? Yeah, this is the first wand you've gotten, if you don't count the wand in the hand of the magician here. So wands are the suit of fire. They're about the passion that you have deep down, like your creative spark, the fire inside of you, that kind of passion. So if this ever has to do with work, it's like doing what you love. It's that the cliche that if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. So if there's like a work thing resonating with you, this is about doing what you love rather than doing what it takes to feed your family. It's a different focus. But since this is in like the social life and friendships house, I would say that this is either telling you, knights go out on quests, by the way. So there are seekers, there are explorers. So so the Knight of Wands is on a quest to explore his passions, like the fire and what really gets him off, basically. He's full of adolescent energy, so he's a real go-getter. And in terms of like social life and friendships, I would say that if you need help making new friends or need ideas with like how to make your social life blossom, this would be giving you the advice that, you know, the way you would go about dealing with your social life and friendships right now would be to do something in pursuit of something that you're passionate about, what lights up the fire inside of you. So if you're crazy about drawing, maybe you take an art class. If you are crazy about bowling, maybe you join a bowling league. If you love baseball, maybe it's time to get season tickets to it. Well, we're almost out of baseball season, aren't we? Season tickets to like, the sport that you love. Or if it's about reading, maybe you go to a meetup about books and you join a book club, reads a book once a month. So how is it that you can use the passion and the fire inside you to explore your relationships? Maybe it's telling you also to like create a book club if books are your thing, or go knitting at a knitting group. But definitely figure out what is your passion. and use that as a part of your quest in the area of your social life and friendships. Now, let's see. 12th house. This is Pisces. This is kind of your like mystical life. Could be your dreams and aspirations, your fears, spiritual stuff. And oh, you got the moon. And there's a bit of an echoing over here with the moon in this card as well that we were talking about when on this like quest for emotional fulfillment of something that's missing over here. So it looks like in terms of like your dreams and fears, and well, actually one of the 12th house definitions is like is what's hidden, and actually what's hidden is one of my personal definitions for the moon. In both cases, the moon, one of the reasons why I said hidden wisdom, well, maybe I don't remember what I said actually, but you know, women's intuition, hidden wisdom, kind of knowing without knowing. The moon, when you look up in the sky, the moon revolves once for every revolution. It goes around the Earth. It turns around once, and what that means is basically the same side of the moon is always facing the Earth. So there's a dark side to the moon that we never see. And that's one of the reasons why the moon often symbolizes hidden wisdom. There's 50% of the face of the moon, one face of the moon faces us, and then 50% of the surface of the moon is never facing the Earth, right? So we have no idea what's going on the other side of it. So that's like about dredging up things that are hidden from view, that aren't quite so obvious. So I would say from a dreams perspective, I think deep down you have some intuition and knowledge that will help you with your dreams and help you with your, you know, evolution. And one of the other aspects of the moon that I love too is there's this crayfish coming out of the water, and just, you know, as like creatures evolved from water onto land, you know, in the theory of evolution, that's kind of what's happening in this scene here. As you evolve, if you are the crustacean, there's a path before you, and this path is basically you need to kind of, I don't want to use the word, I'm trying to avoid the word demons, but you know, there's these things that would look like monsters to a tiny little crayfish, right? You've got these two dogs. They're just dogs to humans, but to this crayfish, they're big challenging beasts that he has to basically cross between them on this path. And then he crosses between the towers and then off onto the horizon, and then, you know, on his way. So there's definitely an evolutionary aspect to the moon here. So where can you evolve in terms of dreams and fears? Where do you need to evolve in order to get to the next level spiritually, get to the next level in order to figure out how to solve all these problems? I think there's a definite element of evolution that you should look at doing. And now I think let's look at the card that you drew with your number. Let's look at the card that will sum up the reading or give you a little bit of guidance as well. I don't think I can put it, I think that'll go off camera, so let's see. Okay, the Chariot. So the Chariot is the card that you drew to kind of sum up the reading or give you some guidance. So one of the really big, and the Chariot is actually another major. So towards the end here, you've got 1, 2, 3 majors. So this is your 4th major. One of the most basic definitions of the Chariot is moving. So you can see that he is, there's a city behind him. He's facing away. He is moving on. He's kind of like growing up. It's kind of like, it can be like the leaving home kind of moving. It can be just literally moving house. It could be going on a trip, something like that, something about motion. If you take this to mean more of a metaphoric moving, now you can, one of the reasons, if you look at it metaphoric moving, it could be like on a spiritual level, like moving yourself to the next area, what we were talking about here with the Magician, moving yourself along on your spiritual path. And if you look at one of the reasons why you can think of it as sort of like a divine sort of movement is that, you know, the figure in the card is basically in control of the Chariot, and there are no reins on the two sphinxes that are driving the Chariot. So he's really controlling it with something non-physical, whatever that might be, with will, with spirit, with something occult. So I think your guidance here it could be like if you excuse me, if any of the solutions to these problems, like going off on a journey to find your emotional fulfillment, the material security here that you're worried about, this thing that when talking to friends, if something comes up to help you in that area, if it involves moving, somehow moving jobs, moving to a different location, commuting in a different direction, something about motion and motion as it relates to a big change in your life, I think the Chariot here is telling you to go for it. And interestingly, sharks are an animal that always have to keep moving, right? In order to breathe, water must flow through a shark's gills, and they don't pump it. It's through the bodily motion of the shark that the water moves through his body so that the shark can breathe and stay alive and thrive. So, yeah, to pull it back to the shark. So perception, focus, fear, action. Where can you take action? Where are your fears? Where can you focus? And perception. So perception, I think, like ties into all of this moon energy here. And then, yeah, the guidance seems to be about motion, metaphorically or physically. Something about moving in a big way that like will change an aspect of your life. So I think that's all I have to say. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this was useful to you. I hope it gave you some insights, and I hope it helps you figure out, I hope it gives you whatever you were looking for from asking for a tarot reading in the first place. Take care. Thanks for the opportunity to read for you.